Hi guys, you are live with Ali and Reese on We Are the Girls in Claret and Blue, ready for what I can promise is probably going to be a very explosive episode based on the game last week. I'm going to let Reese go first. What were your thoughts on the game against Man United?
I thought we was, absolutely superb on Sunday. It was such a different West Ham that we saw. I thought we was more progressive through playing out the back. I thought something finally clicked on Sunday that we haven't seen for a few weeks in terms of I felt like we mixed up our game and the style of play we was playing really well. We became unpredictable, and that's what I've been talking about on this show for the last few weeks, that we were getting too predictable. We changed that, and we've probably beaten one of the best sides in this league without being too nice to Man United, because I know they're not your favourite of teams, Ali. But I think sometimes in that game we did also need a bit of a slice of luck. I didn't think Man United were at their best.
No.
And I think the referee was very questionable as well. But going more onto us, what I liked about us was the fact that we was going direct at times again, and I really like us when we do that. I think Thomas holds the ball up well. She brings our wingers in, and I think for once that we haven't seen for quite a few weeks is the big players turn up and played a real big part.
Yeah.
I think Lehman had the best game of her season so far. She was tearing Man United down the wings, left, right, and centre. And what was interesting to see as well, I said it after the Reading game, what I liked was the interchange between changing the strikers. And we did that at one point where Kiernan went central and Thomas went out on the wing. And I feel like that's really working for us, because it's also making us become unpredictable, and it's giving us a new lease of life attackingly. But something we've been really critical of over the season that I thought we did quite well was actually we managed with their set pieces quite well. And we did well for our corners, and we was playing much better through that. So we can see what we've been working on through the week, and I think now we've got a bit of belief about us because Man United was one of them games where if we didn't win, and with the Liverpool, I'd be more worried about us going into a dogfight. Now I think we're in a more of a position where we can bounce on.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it was one of our best games I've seen them play, full stop. Never mind for this season. I think they wanted it, and but they also calm and cool under pressure, because we conceded really early within the first minute, and then but then to come back within 2 minutes. There was definitely something about the players that were calm, they were collected, they knew they had to get back into it, and to get back in so quickly was really impressive. I think they were sharp, they knew how to take on the different players, and I think the Man United ones were disorganised. It's probably the worst I've seen Man United play this season. And that's not because I don't like them, because they are a good side. They've exceeded expectations, and they are a good side, but I think they were at the worst I've seen them play this season. And that's because I think they were cocky, and I think they came in thinking it's going to be a walkover. They're on 3 losses on a bounce. We're going to make it 4 because we're currently on a winning streak, and we surprised them. And like you said, we became unpredictable. They expected us to roll over, and we didn't. Excuse me.
I think as well with Manchester United was that for me, nobody's really questioned them from playing out the back this season. When I've been watching them, and I think we did that really well, where we doubled up on Mary Epps, and we was actually winning throw-ins and that, and gaining possession through that. So I think that's one thing that other sides will see from that against Man United, and we'll try the same thing. And I think we was much more progressive in our play. So we're starting to develop a system that's working as well with that back five.
Yep, no, absolutely. We just had the best possible squad. I think, seeing certain players back is good. I know Cho only came on for the last few, but it's good to see her fighting fit. It was more importantly also to see Esme de Graaf on the bench.
Mm-hmm.
I know she didn't come on, but it's good to see that we're going to have that scoring power back really soon. So what do you think it was that made them click? What do you think has been?
I think it was just I think in the week as well, which is important. I think maybe they were given a talking to that they needed, and I think we worked really hard in the week. But I think what worked for us is like I've said earlier on in tonight's show, is that we did become unpredictable. Because when we did that in that 20-minute spell against Arsenal, we threatened one of the best sides in the league. So yeah. I think if we can do that more now and become a consistent side, which we haven't been all season, I think we'll climb the table quite quickly. But now we've got an interesting fixture on Sunday for me, which will actually show how far we've come as a squad since last year, because Liverpool were our bogey side where we just couldn't finish in the final third against them. But now I think we've got better players up front, and I think against Liverpool it'll be one of them games where we could either slip up and lose 1-0 or beat them 3-0. So it's one of them.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We'll come on to the Liverpool game shortly. But back to the Man United game, I think they were probably one of our toughest tests we've had this season, compared to Chelsea, Man City and Arsenal, I think, because they were on a very similar level to us, and we lost to them in the Conte last season, and we had a lot to prove. I know the players had a lot to prove, and we performed. You know, like I said, we came back down twice to make it level, and then we won it in the dying seconds. But also, it was one of the roughest games that I've seen. There was a lot of not a lot of discipline amongst the sides, both sides. I'll say West Ham were included in that. Do you think that was because who we were playing, or are we starting to see a bit more fight that's turning into something a bit dodgy? What do you think?
See, no, I think we was doing that tactically, because I remember in the first 20 minutes we were starting to trip them over, have a little clip on the back of some of their main players' ankles, and it ended up winding them up. So I think that's more to do with tactical fouling again. But one thing that I didn't really like about Man United as a side was that they do sort of, like, when they're touched, go over and make loud screams, and they're quite I think they wasn't very sportsmanship like on Sunday, but that's fair enough. That's how they play. But one thing again we have to question, we mentioned it last week, was, and I just can't not mention it, that referee was awful again. It's kind of like they turn up to Rush Green and they're from the supporters end in the away sides. I mean, it's just awful. I mean, we had one fail, you know, in the space they had 5, and she gave us a yellow card. So we do now. I think this is the first time this season where I personally think we've had 2 referees that I've seen that have been bad in a row. So we do now really have to question the standards of refereeing in the WSL.
Yep, no, absolutely. And it's the thing, because I thought Man United, and this is where I'm going to get crucified, but I thought Man United were very undisciplined. Their captain, Katie Zellum, didn't have control of her team. There was a lot of aggravation as it was getting closer and closer, and they, like I said, they'd gone 2-1 up, and then we pulled it back really quickly to 2-2, and they were getting frustrated, like I said, that they didn't think that, because they thought they were going to walk all over us, and we were proving that we could fight. Not literally like what happened with the Tooney tackle, but they were becoming very undisciplined in the fact that they were going in for slightly dodgier challenges. They were getting very aggy, and Katie Zellum, as captain, should have calmed that down. She should have gone in, because Gilly did. Gilly went in when Kate was getting aggy, when Leanne was getting aggy, when Brooke went in for slightly dodgy and got a yellow. She went over and spoke to all of them and was like, right, you guys need to calm it down. Fortunately, Anne didn't listen and ended up getting a red, but that's another topic. But she calmed down. Katie Zelem didn't. She was getting just as aggravated as the rest of them. And when the fight happened, she should have pulled her team aside and basically asked them what the hell they were doing. And the only player that I saw that did that was Mary Earps. Mary Earps, when Millie Turner was getting really aggravated and was going in for something, she pulled Millie out and had a go at her and told her to calm herself down, get herself back into the game, because I think that didn't help. I think that helped them blow it as well, because if they'd been a bit more composed, they might have looked where Bornach was putting that last free kick. They could have possibly, but because they were seeing red, pardon the pun, they weren't focused, and that's why I think they conceded so late, and then we performed the brick wall and kept it at 3-2.
I'll tell you what though. So I think what we did really well was we did keep believing, because when that Lauren James goal went in, it was very much at the same time as Reading scored their goal. But what we did was we kept on believing this time, and that was the real difference in a week that we've made. And I think one player that's really, really starting to flourish in this league and is probably becoming one of our main players is Katharina Bunach. I think she's a superb player. I'm actually surprised she wasn't in the West Ham Player of the Month listing. I think, I don't even know why she's not in there, because I'd vote for her.
I have a feeling she might get it next month, because I mean her performance has been fantastic for the Reading game, but as technically the Man United game was December, she might end up on the December list.
Okay, fair enough. But like I was saying, I think she's turned into one of our key players, and it's really all become due to Matt Beard's changing system, which I think we're a fantastic side in. I think we've now clicked, and I think we're going to become maybe one of the main sides in this league if we do become more consistent, because that's the next step for our team now, is becoming getting results consistently.
Well, it's come out, and like a couple of players have said that to us at pitch side, but Gilly actually said it in her post-match interview, that they had a frank discussion after the Reading game, and they aired all of their grievances, both on the pitch, off the pitch. They cleared the slate, and I think that really helped, because they were so focused on Sunday, like to come back so quickly after both goals, not let it sit, not let it affect them. Like I said, first minute we concede, third minute we've equalised, 83rd minute we concede, 86th minute we've equalised. So they were so clear and on the on it that I think that talk really helped. But we have to talk about the amount of cards that were given on Sunday. Our count, we had 5 yellows and 1 red. Man United had 2 yellows. I think James got booked, and they had 3, because Millie Turner got booked, Zelem got booked, and Lauren James got booked. Did see some tweets going around saying it's not Lauren James's fault, she's just solid. However, I would say she then should learn that she's solid and learn how to tackle a bit more delicately, because that wasn't because she was solid, it's because she threw a player on the floor.
Well, you know me, Ali, I will never insult Lauren James.
No, I know you do love Lauren James. She gives terrible handshakes, by the way. But yeah, so you look at ours, and like was talking to some of the players after the match, and they were like, the ref was definitely, I don't know if they were scared to give Man United cards, because their players could do something 5 times and get nothing. We could do it once, we'd get a yellow. Kate went in for what was an unfortunate challenge, but wasn't I wouldn't say it was bookable. Got a yellow straight away. Leanne went, to be fair, Leanne's ones, they were straight yellows, and obviously she let her temper flare a bit in order to get that second yellow in the fight that happened at the end of the match.
I really like that though, about Leanne's side to that game on Sunday. You know, she was really, really winding the Man United players up and showed a bit more of a fiery side. And I think it's funny how you said last week it's becoming more into the women's game, and
Yeah.
I think now it's happening it's happened in both of our last two games. So it's going to be interesting to see how this comes into the women's game more for me, because I quite like that side to the game sometimes in big games.
So, any final words on the Man United game before we move on to Liverpool?
No, not really. I think we've covered everything.
So as you've mentioned, we have Liverpool on Sunday, and I wouldn't have. I don't want to write them off. That's the thing. I think we don't want to do what Man United did to us and go in there thinking we're going to roll them. We're going to, that's how we came unstuck last time. Just because they've had not the greatest season, they do seem to be improving. Because I mean they're still losing, but they're losing by smaller margins. So they've lost their last couple of games 1-0 rather than like the bigger thing. So what do we need to do to make sure that Liverpool doesn't become our bogey team again?
Well, pretty much just have more of the same things we've done on Sunday. I think if we do that, we beat them comfortably. I think you're being a bit kind to Liverpool that they've progressed. I don't personally see it. I think they're awful defensively, to be honest. And if we execute our attacking game plan well, I think we beat these 3-0. However, saying that, I think there is an element of they were our bogey side last year.
Yeah.
They do seem to have certain bits in every game that I've seen them play. Especially the Everton game, they was very unlucky not to get a result there where they are starting to click. But Liverpool are actually a bit like us last season when we went through that spell where they just can't find the back of the net. So it'd be very West Ham like to go there and lose on a Sunday and Liverpool start to find the back of the net. But like I said, it's going to be interesting how mentally we go into that, because they were our bogey side last year. I think there will be an element of us wanting to get revenge on them getting a double over us last year. So I think I'm confident of us winning, but there also is a little doubt in my mind because they beat us twice last year.
No, I will be kind to Liverpool. I do think they are starting to close the gap on their defence, though. Our regular statistician, Mr. Peter Bradley, our neutral, has told me that the last goal Liverpool scored was in the penalty that Mel Lawley had a couple of games ago, but they haven't scored in open play since last season in the derby against Everton. As you say, that would be very West Ham-like of us to then allow them to score. He also said that they played Man City last week, and they were very unlucky because they've got Mel Lawley and Kirsty Lynette, and they were running them absolute ragged. So we've got to watch that out for that. Lawley's a cracking winger, and we're going to be missing our cracking winger in Leanne because obviously she got the red last game and will be out for this game. But I'm kind of happy about that because I'd rather have her back for Bristol, to be honest. So, who would you play? What sort of formation are we going for?
Well, I think we have to go with the exact same formation and the exact same lineup. You don't change your winning team, in my opinion, and I think that side is probably that team is probably our best team on paper. But if I would change anything, I would actually like to see us play two up front, maybe, and have Leon and Thomas up front together, because I would really like to see that as a partnership. And I think Liverpool are a side right now where you can test these sort of things.
So who are you having running your wing? Because like I said, we're missing Leanne. We've still got Alicia. Who's going to be Alicia's partner on the wing?
I'd probably put Jacinta out on the wing. I think she does that role really well. when she's played on the wings this season. But am I right in thinking she wasn't in the matchday squad for Man United?
She was not.
So I don't know what's happened there.
But no, I'm looking forward to seeing Esme back actually on the pitch. She was brilliant for us before she did her ACL in, and it'll be interesting to see her coming back. You're right. I think the one thing I'd say we have to keep is the 5 at the back. The 5 at the back works so well for us, and we've come up with that great partnership between all 5 of them. And I think we've got to keep that, because if we mess about with that too much, that's when we start conceding goals.
I'll tell you what, as well, I think what I noticed as well with the Reading game is, and it seems to be a typical occurrence of when Courtney's in goal, I think we're more confident as a side as well.
You would say that?
No, well, other people have said it as well. You just see a more confident West Ham defensively, and I think what Courtney, does well is she has a massive presence in the box. She claims well. However, it will be interesting to see who he starts in goal, because this could be a game where I think Matt bases Morehouse or Brosnan based on who we're playing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it will be interesting to see who he starts on Sunday.
Just have to say justice with Morehouse. I really like Anna, and I think the thing is, right, the scorelines recently haven't reflected her match, because I think she's played well, and it was her back line that was the issue. And also she was the one that lost twice to Liverpool, so I'd quite like to see her get a bit of redemption and a bit of vengeance coming back up against Liverpool. Pete has now given me the actual timings. So it's 378 minutes without a goal in open play, and 368 minutes since the last goal, which was by a Mel Lawley penalty. As you say, it would be very typical of West Ham if we then become the team that they score against.
As you're saying all them stats, I can just see a Liverpool goal going in the net.
Well, the one we've got to watch out for, and she was the one that got us last season, was Sweetman Kirk.
Yeah.
Sweetman Kirk is a danger, and we need to make sure that we've got players on there that can snuff her out, because she's the reason we conceded both times,
I think with Liverpool as well, because they've been getting reasonable results against the two big sides now in Arsenal and Man City, where everyone's saying they were quite unlucky. I think they will be going into this game with a little bit of optimism and confidence. So we need to control that. And I think this game really is going to rely on game management, because I think Liverpool will be tight defensively and look to hit us on the counter, because I think that's the best way to play a team like us right now.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So hopefully there's no Liverpool players watching, so we can give them some ideas. So looking forward, because on Wednesday, Birmingham managed to hold Tottenham to a draw, which has worked out in our favour, because that's closed the gap between us and Tottenham. So if we win and they lose, we then go above them, and then we can only progress further, hopefully beating Bristol. I'm not saying we're going to Arsenal them by beating them 11-1, but I do think we've got a good shot against Bristol. We managed to do the double over them last season, and I think we're a much more competitive and stronger squad than last season, so we should do the double, which means that at Christmas, if all results go our way, we should be up to 6th, which would be a massive improvement.
See, right now, I am really in the situation where I am taking us game by game. So I'll talk about the Bristol match after the Liverpool one, Ali.
But you must be thinking of like our league position before Christmas, because about where we want to be. Because last season we had a great December. We won all matches in December, and then we had a terrible January. And so we want to try and hope that doesn't happen again.
I think the difference between this January and last January, if I'm right, is that we did have Arsenal and Man City last January. And I think this year we haven't got such tough fixtures. So, look, I think this is a chance where we could really go on a run of games and a winning run towards Christmas, get us a bit of confidence. Hopefully by the Everton game we'll have Eni Aluko
I could be wishful thinking, but yeah.
But look, like I said, I've learned as a West Ham fan, especially with both sides this year, that you do have to take us game by game. And I think the good thing is, though, if we do beat Liverpool, I think we will go into such confidence with Bristol City that will beat them as well. It's sort of that predicament. But like I said, we can't forget that we do have a game against Crystal Palace as well.
I was going to say, midweek, forget Bristol. Our next game after that will be the Palace midweek.
So it'll be interesting, and I think against Palace we have to go full strength as well, because we do want to progress
in
the Cons Cup, and we need to win. So
Reading need to lose.
Yeah, and it is going to be a tough couple of weeks now because of that midweek fixture, and I'm pretty sure Crystal Palace have signed a new player today.
They did, and they've signed an ex-West Ham player. Our old captain, Amber Stobbs, has just signed for Palace. I don't think she'll be eligible to play against us in the Conti, but I could be wrong because she's a free agent, so she might be able to, just like Little John got in that game at Reading. But
have we yet to find out what's happened to Little John?
No, I'm like, keeps turning up for games. I'll give her credit; she's always in the crowd, so she keeps turning up. I don't know if we got special dispensation to use her because we had no squad, and that's why she played in the Reading game. And then we'll announce. It's a bit like Sam Kerr's officially signed for Chelsea, but she can't actually sign until January. So I don't know if it's the same thing in the fact that we have signed Little John, but we've not officially signed her till January.
One thing I've just remembered mentioning as well is about the Man United result is I think this result was also massive for the league as a whole, because when we've seen Arsenal beating Bristol City 11-0, Man City beating us 5-0 and Bristol City by that scoreline, people were starting to question the competitiveness in the league. And I think the fact that we've been on a bad run of form and beat Man United, who are a really good side. I mean, when I said we were going to win before the game, you kind of looked at me with a bit of what you've been taking, Reece.
Pretty much.
So it's good for the league because that results prove that the competitiveness is still there. Yeah. And I think we do also have to realise that Arsenal, Man City and Chelsea are probably still still a league above everybody else. So I think as well now there's not such between like 4th to 11th, that's where the gap's closing, and I think there's going to be some real competitive games for the league as a whole after January. It's going to be interesting to see what happens in the transfer window, because I think with this league being so good this year, I think there could be some big signings for some teams.
Absolutely. Though I have one final question for you, Reece, before we wrap this one up. Got Palace midweek at home. Do you think the following might go against us? The fact that it will be cold, the fact that we are so far away from the pitch the players may not be able to hear us chanting, or for the fact that our facilities are so terrible we don't know how our players are going to cope?
God's sake, Ali.
It's a genuine question. Do you think any of those things are going to affect how our players play on that Wednesday?
I'll tell you what, that's just one question of the year, Ali.
I have no idea what you're on about, Reese. It was a genuine question because those concerns have been raised.
Look, I doubt that will go against us, and I'm sure we'll have a great following. But if Jack's watching, apparently our facilities do need to be improved, and me and Ali are both up for suggesting a few things.
Yep, absolutely, and also you're not near enough to the pitch, so your players can't hear you. So we might need to abandon the no standing rule in certain areas.
Oh, and another thing I'd like to mention is the fact that due to the way Man United were standing on a Sunday, everybody else could hear our group singing, but apparently at that end of the ground there seems to be an acoustics problem, so you can't hear the West Ham chants, which could affect our fullbacks.
Yeah, apparently so. I heard that. The fact that you can't quite hear the West Ham fans if you're in the stand that far away. So all things that we must consider for our next home games. Sorry, my last one. Right.
Ali, you can't help yourself, can you?
I can't. I don't care. I can't. Right. So our final thing before we wrap up is just to let anybody in the UK know that if you plan on applying for the supporters board, your deadline is Monday to get your application in. So if you're considering it, you've got a couple of days, but you've got to get it in by Monday because the deadline is the 9th.
And be quick because we are in desperate need of new facilities.
Absolutely. So we're practically falling apart. So we need to get that board quick. That's all from me and Reese for this evening. It's been an entertaining one. I told you it would be. We will be back next week. I'm not quite sure what date yet because we need to sort out the fact that we're playing midweek as well. But we will be back next week where we will be discussing the Liverpool game, possibly the Palace game, and previewing the Bristol City game, which is our last game of the year. And then we'll also have a bit of a yearly roundup to see how we've been doing and where we can go for the next half of the season. I've been Ali.
I've been Reese.
And good night.
Good night.